This is part two of the Bobby Fye and Sheets interview. The problem is we got cut off a little bit, had a little internet mishap for some reason on my end. So we are back with it. We were talking a little bit about Sheets and the guys who he basically was, maybe that's too strong a word, but in some sense, maybe like a father figure. And it was important to a lot of my friends. You guys' relationship, they really liked you. I'm not just blowing smoke here. I think it's really, seemed to be an important part of these guys, growing up as men, because that was their first career for most of these guys. And I know that you guys had a big impact on where poker is today. What are your sort of thoughts about that? Am I putting too much pressure on you? I feel like to me, it feels like something that's not talked about enough is how you guys are affected on the industry. At the time, for all the players, sure. But it's kind of weird that it sort of has lost that, a little bit. Like you guys are sort of the fathers of the new age of poker.
I don't care. I mean, that doesn't, you know what I mean? That doesn't really, I'm not into that. You know what I mean? Like, if that's what happened, then cool.
Or not, that's my take of what the reality is. You know what I mean?
Right. No, that's I mean, very possible. But again, to be insensitive about it, it's the equivalent of saying that that Chris Moneymaker and his performance ushered in like the big poker boom, where you could certainly argue that it was well on the way of happening anyway. That even if Moneymaker had not gotten away with bluffing Farha, right? Even if he had lost, or even if he didn't win, that there was such trajectory from the way things were going that the poker boom would happen anyway. So I guess you could argue that absent, Cliff and me, I mean, that just the nature of the way things work, that young players would have found a way in and would have found a way to succeed anyway. So you could certainly argue that, but I definitely do think that that the two things I won't say I'm proud of, I guess the best way I could describe, but I am kind of pumped that we did really were the first people to really, really make the whole backing thing something upfront and something structured and give people a chance to play or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And also I was, not to transition too much, but I was also kind of into the idea of how we were one of the first to kind of start the whole online training business, with respect to teaching people how to play.
Mm-hmm.
Because what I was getting into before we got disconnected is that people would ask me all the time, what was your favorite, or the thing you enjoyed the most about your poker career? Was it more the playing, the backing, or the teaching, right?
Mm-hmm.
And where I could easily say that the backing made me the most money, right? Of all three of those things, I actually feel as though the teaching was my favorite part, because that was always what I did before. Even before I got into finance, I was this is like even way back in Sheets' career. I used to be one of the leading experts on the bar exam in like the whole country. I used to travel like all over the place, like lecturing on bar exam test taking techniques and things like that. And my whole idea was that I was always able to make complicated things seem simple. So people would always ask me, when I was doing the bar exam, what was your score? What was whatever? I'm like, listen, there are going to be people out there that probably got better scores than me, but there's just nobody on the face of the earth that could teach this to other people and make the complicated things sound easy better than I am. That's the way I always felt about the poker training, was that there were just zillions of poker players better than I was. I mean, honestly, there were much better players than I was. But I always felt as though I kind of had the ability to reduce things to a learnable level and communicate that in a very, very meaningful way. So that's why I was very proud of the training part of it as well. But to what you said, I mean, if anything that I did helped people's career get jump started and their lives became a little better, or hopefully not worse because of it, that's definitely cool.
Mm-hmm. Is there so we mentioned, I don't want to get into the specifics about exact things, but we know that you backed some guy, people who won the main event of the World Series. Actually, I just was at a wedding with him. But so is there a specific highlight maybe from either the playing or the backing side? I know you're a guy who likes to teach, and that's sort of something we're trying to do over here with our new stuff. Even we don't just want to tell people what to do every day or who to play. We want them to come up with the right way of the process, to getting the process down. Is there a moment though that stuck out as maybe a win, a big, was it a big win? Is there something that happened when the site maybe turned a corner? Is there something that stuck out from your poker playing background that was sort of like an ultimate highlight?
Well, it's not what you think with respect to like when I would have guys win main events and stuff like that, or whatever, win big live stuff. Again, maybe it's soulless or whatever it is, but it wasn't like that big of a deal. You know what I mean? Like it was big from a money. Obviously the biggest ones were obviously big money things, but those weren't like that big of a deal. I mean, I honestly, my favorite things were always the sweating online. I would having that search feature and knowing who was in everything and being able to get in there and back in the day, like everybody wasn't so freaking serious about, like about everything. So we would get in the chat box and yell and scream and root for cards and like scroll like all kinds of stuff. And people would get their chat banned for cursing and things like that. And to me, that was like just fun shit, man. You know what I mean? Like, and then like crazy, stupid stuff like online. Like, I could spend like 3 hours talking about my relationship with Gigabet, and that's a name that probably 90% of the people here won't even recognize, right? But and different online like contests that people would have, like volume contests. And I mean, people say you should write a book about whatever, and I did have like 2 chapters written before I kind of gave up. It was going to be called Welcome to Sheets World, which is and cool, maybe but I really can't peg any one particular moment or time or whatever. I mean, because it was all, you know what? It's like anything else. It wasn't all good. There was some good, some bad, some indifferent, some whatever. And yeah, there were so many different times. I would sometimes just, I hate this freaking, I just hate it, right? And then I would just, but it was like my thing, I was just really just kind of into it. But to answer your question, I wish I had one particular win or anything like that I could highlight, but it's all kind of a blur, man. It's just so much.
Yeah, no, I hear you, man. It's I can imagine with all that history that it would be that way. What led you to eventually, and I'm not saying that you're out of it entirely, but what sort of got you more away from that in general, other than just, was it just strictly after Black Friday, or did you still do a little bit of business?
You know what? Pretty much, but those again, this could be just more of a poker podcast one of these days, but people don't remember is that even when Black Friday happened, I mean, you could argue that Black Friday may in fact have saved a lot of people a lot of money for a number of reasons. Number one, if it weren't for them freezing those accounts, I'm sure that, especially with Full Tilt, they would have all been disappeared. I mean, they would have all gone to zero, and there'd be nothing to recover. That money all would have been stolen, like within probably a couple of months. But the other thing is that already at that point, the games were becoming really, really hard, or harder, let's say that. And the types of people that I was backing, and quite honestly, my skill set also, I'm not exactly sure that the backing business or my playing business would have been that profitable after that. If you want to know the truth. So it was already kind of like either leveling out or kind of, being very fishy at that point anyway. But after Black Friday, just kind of like reduced the online piece, and we kind of did the live thing a little bit. It just out not with a bang, but with a whimper, as some people like to say. The online thing was a really big blow, and then just slowly but surely, it just kind of stopped doing it. And that's and concurrent with that was me having spending a lot more time with my hedge fund and spending between 60% to 70% to 90, 99 to 100% with my hedge fund, which continued to be really successful. So I was focusing more time on that, and then, like, not to get too much into it, but fortunately I had something else that kind of like took the place of that part of my brain, that what needs to be analytical, whatever. When my son, became old enough where I could, started coaching him in his age group in AAU basketball. Because what I did with that was, I was like, as much as I was in poker, I was like stone psycho with that when it came to doing analytics and that kind of stuff. So at least that filled up my that part of my brain. Now, obviously, there was no money in that, so that's the problem. But between poker and DFS, there really wasn't any gambling. You know what I mean? It was just the hedge fund and basketball, and what led me to DFS honestly was and we'll talk about how I got actually involved in DFS, because it 100% involved you. Was that the whole skill set of being able to manage positions and manage portfolios and stuff, which has a lot of ties to backing and finding what players go well with one another, and how to scale and make sure that you don't have over correlation, things like that. That type of skill set I was always really, really good at when it came to managing my hedge fund. So when it came to DFS, there were some. I really didn't know anybody doing it. You want to know the truth? I knew names that were doing it. Like I heard that guys I knew from poker, like A.E. Jones. I heard that he won something really, really big, and I'm like, boy, I remember him from poker. He played like whatever it is. And then like I had one guy from poker who I used to back, who kept on pounding me. He's like, you want to do this DFS? I'm like, I don't really know anything about it. Is that like sports betting? He's like, sort of, but not really. I just really wasn't into it. And then I was on 2+2 one day, and there was something where there was a contest of NFL, where it was kind of an interesting contest, where it was a season-long DFS contest in the NFL season, where everybody had to put in $1,700, and it was an interesting format. Like every week you compete against the group, and the winner would get a certain amount, and they would keep score along the way. And then at the end of the season, whoever the top three would go to the playoffs. So it was kind of a mixture of approach now looking back between cash and tournament approach. And I'm like, you know what? I want to learn DFS. And for me, the only way I'm really going to learn it is if I put myself in a position where I'm playing against really good players, and I really want to learn how to do this right. And you talk about tough spots. Like if I go through it, like literally there were probably 15 people in that tournament. Probably 12 of them were just kind of like top 20 rated like DFS players, right? Yeah. So I'm like, but that's the way I want to do it. So, and I honestly I really didn't know who from DFS, like the guy who ran Poker X Factor with me, Scott Pendergrass, he had told me that he did NHL like back in the day, whatever it is, but he wasn't really a professional ever. And then I don't know what it was. I think I was looking at a video or something like that, and I saw, I think you were either doing a video for Roto-Grinders or somebody, whatever it was. I'm like, well, I remember that name. I remember Bobby Fye. I mean, I from poker.
Didn't Below Above tell you something, like to talk to me or something like that? Which is
what's that?
I don't have a relationship with him, but I guess he was really into the shows at the time. But I thought that was a nice thing that he said to because I remember at one point he said, yeah, you should listen to Bobby Fye about this. He knows his stuff or something like that.
Ooh, who said that?
Below Above said it to you. You told me that initially when we met.
No, he hates you.
He does?
No, I shouldn't say that. No, I didn't mean that. No, I told him after the fact.
He hates me, though. I didn't know he hated me.
No, I'm just kidding.
I don't know.
He didn't. No, it wasn't actually. I mentioned it to him after the fact.
Okay.
I literally came up with your name on my own. When I saw your video, I'm like, oh, this guy seems like she's smart. Is that the same Bobby Fye that I remember from Baby Grand, or like his friend or whatever it is? And I'm like, yeah, that's probably the same guy. And I honestly didn't remember. All I remembered from poker was that. See, I didn't even realize. I thought that you and I maybe had swapped money or something. I just knew that you were a good guy who knew Baby Grand. That's really all I remember.
I was friends with all the Michigan guys,
right? But I didn't know what to say. So I reached out to Bobby, or to you, I should say, and I'm like, listen, I don't know if you're interested in this, but I'm in trying to get a DFS. I'm trying to do this 2+2 thing, and you're like, oh, I'll totally help you out. I'm like, listen, I don't even know much about it, but whatever help you can give me, and I was not instantly hooked, but I was looking at the DFS thing. I'm like, okay, I must have spent like 4 hours, maybe more than that, just trying to get my freaking 2+2 lineup set. You know what I mean? Like, and remember, the people that are in this thing, they barely remember to put the lineup in. You know what I mean? Like, these are people that have like hundreds of thousands going on, whatever. Whatever their cash lineup is, they just put in there, whatever they put in. And then I'm like, wow, this GPP thing looks like kind of interesting. And then when I saw that you could put like a lot of lineups in, and that it was a lot about ownership and what people are are kind of thinking and how to leverage that and to get. I'm like, boy, this is when it comes to the way I analyze stocks, this is literally 100% the same thing. So I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'll get involved in it, and within a pretty short period of time, through your help and me grinding zillions of other videos and zillions of other content, whatever it is, I kind of got a little bit of a feel for it, and just starting blasting away, and to bring you guys current. I was really excited to be able to share my thoughts with others, and it kind of like melded into Bobby wanting to develop his own site also, and freaking the Black Friday of, hopefully not the Black Friday of DFS happened, and we're now here. So hopefully at this point you've learned a little bit of something from DFS, and hopefully I continue to get in there.
Yeah. No, I mean, the thing is, that's our thing. We like to, look, our job, as far as I'm concerned, is to try and make people the best at the DFS, or whether it's sports betting, whatever it is that we're talking about, but mostly it's DFS. But the other goal is to be entertaining and be a part of this community. That's a really, it's an interesting, booming community. It sort of resembles the poker community. There's a lot of same names that have been there for a while. And then you've got the young guys who are sort of doing this now who had nothing to do with poker. So it's kind of like an interesting mix. But it is interesting. There's a lot of history, it feels like, between a lot of us. And there are guys who I wouldn't even know they knew my name. And then they come up to me and, at live events or whatever, and they go, like Brandon Adams was at one point said, he was talking to me about, like, hey, can you talk to me more about basketball stuff? I was like, Brandon Adams, like, if I was going to ask somebody for a lesson, he would be the first person I'd go to. The guy teaches at freaking Harvard, you know what I mean? On numbers and analytics. But anyway, I just thought that was kind of like I'm always surprised at how well connected everybody is. I guess that was my point. I wasn't trying to.
I have a funny story. Actually, two stories. So I've only been asked for, going back to poker, I've been asked for an autograph actually one time. Okay. And I'm going to tell you the story about where that happened. And there's no way he'll remember this. So I was playing Foxwoods in a Foxwoods event, and I kind of, I don't want to lead you the wrong way saying I was asked for an autograph, because it's not exactly the same thing. And I was taking the shuttle over from where I was staying. I one of the local bed and breakfast. That's where I stayed, and I was taking a shuttle over to the casino for the event. And actually, Brandon Adams, since you brought him up, was got on the same shuttle, and we were just sitting there. I didn't know him; he didn't know me, and there were these elderly ladies there who were, on their way to play slots or whatever it was, and they're like, "Ooh, what are you guys doing?" I'm like, "Oh, we're going to play the poker." "Ooh, are you playing that big poker tournament? That whatever?" They're like, "Yeah," and they're like, "Oh my God, I got to get you guys autograph, right?" So both Brandon and me signed this old lady's autograph, and I'm like, "Do you even know who we are?" She goes, "No, but if you guys win, you guys are going to be famous, right?" So then like fast forward a little later, actually a client of mine, who's an investor of mine, actually knows Brandon really well, and so Brandon's definitely one of those sharp dudes that.
Yeah, I'd say he's sharp. Anyway, yeah, he's one of the guys who definitely transitioned from poker over to this very, very smoothly. And obviously he still plays poker. I'm sure he's playing big events. I don't know what's even going to happen as far as that goes. I also wanted to say, I don't think this is the D-Day. I don't think we're at the end of sports. Like, as long as there's a functioning country, which I don't think it's going to happen for a couple months, but we're going to have sports at some point back. Like, that's not going to go away. It's just not possible.
Let me explain to you my thoughts on where the way I approach stuff like this. Okay. It's the exact same way I approached Black Friday, which, again, for those who remember, what didn't come completely out of the blue. Like, party poker was eliminated, right? And then there was like UB issues with the I get the order of these things confused with the super users and things like that. And the full tilt was already kind of in flux, And people say, "What are you going to do? What are you going to do?" I'm like, listen, what I'm going to do, I'm going to be firing up the online sites until they tell me I can't sign on anymore. You know what I mean? Like, and once they tell me that I can't sign on anymore, I won't sign on anymore. Once there's nothing left to play, so for me with DFS, it's the exact opposite. As soon as they are ready, okay, I am going to be so prepared and so ready. I'll be the first one to put in more lineups than I'm supposed to. you know, in the first day back, and whether that be NBA or Major League Baseball. And what's interesting? I wonder what happens first, if at all. You think the next? That's gonna be an interesting question. What happens?
I honestly think because of the nature that, like, just the more you read about this thing, and like, look, we're no medical experts. We have been unusually ahead of the curve as an industry.
Yep.
Stuff.
Yep.
And just if you see the writing on the wall, I would guess that you'd see golf and baseball before you see basketball.
From a health perspective.
Yeah, I mean, that's basketball. It's just, that's like you don't realize. And again, we say disgusting. It is kind of disgusting, but it's incredibly. There's a lot of contact there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, so
I think that's accurate. I think that the first. Now, do you think that they this is more? We should probably end this.
Okay.
Because I want to. This is going to spill over into like more day-to-day stuff.
Maybe we can do a third one because at some point I'd like to ask you a little bit more about the stock market, how you got involved in that, and I want the other people.
Oh, okay.
So we can even jump to that for a minute if you want to.
Yeah, sure, go for it. So the stock market again. This is all like at the same time, you know. But
also like everybody. I mean, I just felt like every single person who had quit their job to play poker at the time, to me, was either a young kid out of college or a guy from the stock market. That's who I played with. That's every. Forever, that's who everybody seemed like they were at the tables. And if they weren't guys who would quit their job in the stock market, they would definitely came out and played the big tournaments on the weekends because, you know, you didn't know them until then.
Well, it's interesting. A lot of people that you would see come out to play that were from the stock market are just people that are just, you know, rich enough because they made money in the stock market. Right. And they really weren't good at poker, you know. And there's a lot of those types. Boy, if you wanted to get into great cash games, I mean, like the Wall Street cash games, were just insane. I mean, they were so good. I mean, I that wasn't ever my thing. Like, I really never played. I'm ready for this incredible stat. I think I've played a total of 3 live cash games in my life.
Really? Okay? That's crazy.
Yeah, 3 live cash games in my life. It's just never something I enjoyed. So in any case, I would be more interested in, what's also interesting is the opposite of the people that were poker players that wanted to get jobs in finance, right? After poker, you know, but like for me, it was, you know, it was just natural, you know, because I was always involved in the stock market, like going way back to when I was in college. Mm-hmm. And, you know, even I didn't really launch my hedge fund until 2002. But since 2002, this is really like 90% of what I'm doing is just, you know, manage money and things like that. But I do think that I go back and forth when people ask, does your experience in the stock market help you or translate into your ability to play poker? And on the one hand, you would think that it's a logical thing to say, mm-hmm. but I'm not exactly sure whether it's a chicken or the egg thing. You know what I mean? Like, I think that my natural ability that lets me play poker well also helps me in the stock market. You know what I mean? I don't know if you just became like a stock market guy without like the gambling skills, you could probably succeed in the stock market without being able to also play poker. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think it's just such a natural. It's one of those things where it's a natural thing to say that, boy, I'm really good at the stock market, so I should be good at poker. I just don't think it necessarily works out that way.
So I would have phrased it differently. What I see tell the connection is being that people who have that type of mindset, and I do see some similarities. And look, I don't know. I didn't spend as much time in the stock market world as you did, obviously, to say the very least. I was on my way. I was about to do it. I had got my Series 7. I was ready to go.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was like 21 years. It was right before I started playing poker. And then, but what I noticed is that the way that sort of what I noticed is that people who sort of think of things in that analytical way just would naturally gravitate towards something like poker or DFS, just because it's using that part of your brain that is that, I don't know what the word is for it. It's that analytical part.
When I was doing this, probably giving more of a slam to the stock market people than to the DFS people. What I was going to say is there's a lot of people in the stock market that are just kind of bad at that. You know what I mean? So just because you're in the stock market and playing stock market and betting on the stock market or investing in the stock market, whatever you want to say, doesn't necessarily qualify you to be a DFS player or a poker player for that matter. Because stock market's not easy. There's a lot of people who lose a lot of money in the stock market because it really isn't easy. Like, okay, you want to do an exercise? Here's a good exercise. So, the other day or yesterday, the casinos closed, right? Most of them. And all the casinos most of the casino stocks were down like 30% yesterday. Okay. So you would think that all the DFS players and all the stock market people, look, everybody knew, right, that this was going to happen with respect to the casinos, right? They were eventually going to have to end up closing. So the question is, well, obviously it was a lock to short them on Thursday and Friday, and they were down 30%. Why? It's that easy. Like, why wouldn't everybody just do that on Thursday, Friday? Because on Thursday, Friday, you poll 99% of the people. You say, what's going to happen to the casinos? 99% of them they're going to close, right? So what gives? How is it possible that you couldn't? Everybody didn't just go ahead and do that. Like on Thursday and Friday, short all those stocks. Everybody would make 30% on Monday. It's just as easy as that, but it isn't. Because what happens is let's say it's Thursday. Let's go back to Thursday, because people always with hindsight, you go back to Thursday or Friday even, and you ask all these people, okay, what do you think's going to happen with casinos? They're going to say, well, they're probably going to go out, they're probably going to crush. Well, why don't you short them now? And this is what happens. They're like, well, how much of that is already priced into the stock? In other words, this is the thing that people always have to analyze, is this information that seems so obvious, how much of that is already priced into the stock?
Right.
Because, it's not so easy to say, well, obviously they're going out of business. So if that's the case, they'd be at zero, right? Because people would price that in ahead of time. But if you polled all these people on Thursday or Friday, where the reality of where the actual companies would go is probably close to consensus, how much of that was actually already priced in the stock is not the easiest thing in the world to do. Like if I told people Thursday, Friday, oh, by the way, the casinos are probably gonna close on Monday, you probably short them. Like, well, why isn't everybody doing that? You know what I mean? That's probably already factored into the stock. So how much of information that's either out there or presumed to be out there is already factored into the stock is incredibly nuanced and incredibly difficult. It's not exactly the same, but it's sort of the same as, oh my God, Westbrook is out. Harden's got to be great. You know what I mean? Okay, terrific. But how much? But is Harden great at 18,000?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Probably not. You know what I mean?
Right.
Is he great? And it's a little different because there's actually projections that, whatever. But then again, if everybody has access to those projections, for example, how much of that is already priced into the ownership?
Right.
And that's why, to me, the whole DFS thing is fascinating, because it's a very similar type of thing, because you can't be so naive, unless you're like that guy that has inside information, to believe that what is not known by a lot of people, okay?
Right.
And you always have to balance how much of what you know is already factored in and how much of what you have some kind of an edge with. And that's what makes it hard, and that's what kind of, in a way, intellectually makes it cool, So that's why this stuff, and I see it. I don't want to get involved. I see that my Twitter feed is littered with people now like saying, "Ooh, I'm going to do this in the stock market. I'm going to do this," and I just don't want to get involved. I don't want to say, "Well, where's your edge?" I mean, you're saying something that everybody else agrees with. Why is it? If you think that, say, take a stock, you think that Apple is, boy, it's got to be underpriced here. It should be worth 400. If it were worth 400, it would be trading at 400. You know what I mean? Because everybody would know that, and then everybody would buy it. So it's a very, I say nuance in the wrong way. It's very, very difficult to balance, what the psychology of a stock or a player or a DFS thing or whatever is already baked in versus, what is still out there. So it's the stock market is very tough, and not that you can't win, okay, but it's not as easy to say, okay, like you'll see for those of you who watch CNBC today, you'll see for people that, like, if the market's like way down or whatever it is, you'll see people one at a time paraded on and say, you know what I think we should do? I think it's a good idea to buy really good, high quality companies with strong balance sheets, with good business models. That's the time to do this. Gee, thanks. You know what I mean? That is exactly the ultra mindset. And yeah, wouldn't that be nice? You know what I mean? And if in fact you did know exactly what companies they were, it would only be because everybody else knew, because you get the sacks of the same analyst information. And if that were the case, wouldn't you think that people would have bought them anyway, such the price has already been factored in? So for those of you who are watching this that know a little bit about the stock market, you would think, well, kind of where I'm heading here is you just can't win, right? That all the information is already baked into every position, right? Then there's just no way to win, especially with the rake of transaction fees. No, I do think that there are pockets of value to be found, okay? But you've got to really have a little bit of a different insight into a company or into a stock or than the rest of the community. Otherwise, you're just really just kind of a sheep. You know, you're really just kind of following along with what's already been priced in it. And doing it that way becomes very, very difficult.
Can I just throw out the most Knicks thing in history that just happened? I'm sorry, I got distracted. It was a great.
Oh, no, what'd they do?
No, it's just funny that the sources to the Knicks, close to the Knicks, are saying that they're very heavily interested in doing whatever they can to get Christian Wood. What a weird time. Like he has coronavirus, and we're gonna. Why would they even allow their people to release that? It just seems weird.
That is extremely strange, isn't it?
It's just so Nick-like. It's weird. They just go do the weird stuff.
That is extremely strange.
I think it's also amazing that as of 4 days ago or 5 days ago, even after the day of the Gobert thing, that was the only look. Everybody in the NBA said, "Look, we can't do this anymore this way. We're either going to play without fans, or we're not going to play." And except for the Knicks, who wanted business as usual.
The Knicks, it's funny. Like Dolan's father, when Dolan's father started rolling out cable TV in this area like a long time ago, like my father-in-law was one of his like first sales reps, like going literally door to door, like selling cable TV for Dolan. You know, yeah, the Knicks are a very I wouldn't say dysfunctional, whatever it is. Like you said, very, very Knicks stuff. That's the best way to describe it.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine running something worse than that. But that was good stuff on the stock market. I think something that I'd like to I always wanted your opinion on how it's sort of maybe not related, but why there seems to be a lot of crossover between the people who do these things. Also, I do think it works the other way. Some of the really smart poker players and DFS players are not necessarily the smartest, and they think they have these lines. Yep. And look, sure, they did. A lot of people saw Bitcoin coming and made a lot of money out of it. A lot of people lost a lot of money on it. Yep. So I don't know. I think people just overwhelmingly jumping on things because it seems like a cool thing to bet on is probably not smart. I would just recommend that you talk to someone like Sheets or someone who's been in the business for a while before you invest significant money. Right now, I'm looking at different celebrities, what they're doing as we're sort of talking here, just because I found this.
Yeah, what do you got?
It's just kind of funny. They got D'Angelo Russell is trying to show how to stay in shape, and he's doing what he does. He's locked in his room, and just kind of interesting, you know what I mean? And then they're basically a lot of people are playing video games. A lot of people are playing video games for not for money, but to bet for health. That's a big thing.
Do you know, by the way, I mean, you want like an interesting follow? I didn't even realize it. So there's a guy who I really thought it was a fake account. Okay, it was the name of like a basketball player, and I just figured it was a fake account or whatever it is. And the guy seems like really, really bright, and he has like a lot of different side business and stuff. Do you follow somehow Spencer Dinwiddie?
I have not. Why? I didn't know.
So I'm still. I think I'm going to end up being trolled by this. How do you Spencer? I don't even know how you spell his name. Hold on, Spencer.
Nwidie. Yeah, I hadn't heard much about what.
Yeah, it's here. I'm gonna put this on my thing. Hold on. Is share. So I think this is his account. You know what I mean? And he's got, I don't know. He's got a website. He does like whatchamacallit, I don't say web developing or something like that.
Just a tech.
I read his story and things like that. I don't know. The guy seems like a really smart dude.
I like his website actually.
Yeah, right.
That's pretty cool stuff. Like.
Yeah, I don't know. And then I saw what's his face? Did you see, by the way, Donovan Mitchell put up an update?
No, what did he say? I didn't see that.
Oh, this is the best. I mean, because he said, listen, that's why, I mean, some guys, this is one thing this crisis it's really gonna like drown out the morons from the smart people in a way. But like, didn't we, he came right on, Mitch was listening, just so you guys know, I'm doing great. I could honestly play like a 7-game series like tomorrow. I have no symptoms. And honestly, guys, that's what makes this thing so freaking dangerous.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That people can be like me, can be walking around with no symptoms, really, really contagious. You know what I mean? So it was a really, really sharp report by him.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, wait. Yeah, I'm gonna get more into this Dinwiddie thing. He's
right.
Yeah, it's interesting. He's an interesting dude. I haven't really seen anybody take that. I've always wondered why, if I have every athlete, like basically you should realize if you're an athlete or anything in any sort of media, whatever, you should have a website that describes like who you are, where you came from, what, at least.
Yeah.
You have to have something for that going forward. And I'm sort of surprised more people don't do it. I also really like the way he did this.
Yeah.
It's just really cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, that's it. Sheets, anything else before we get out of here? Next time we can go back and forth. You can grow.
Nah, you know what's cool, honestly, like with all the stuff going on and all the negativity, I just kind of like yapping with you. I always feel better when I always feel better afterwards.
Likewise, buddy. I appreciate it. I think it's good for all of us to try and do try and get whatever thing we can out of the life we're in right now.
Yeah, I lost money. One of the sites had a NBA 2K simulation I entered into. So
are you good?
What's that?
Oh, NBA the simulation. I'm sorry, I thought you.
Awesome. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Hey, props to them. They're giving away freaking free money when no one's making any. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I got a little bit of props. I don't feel like giving away anything myself. So, but you know what? And for those of you that are looking for content, whatever it is, all of us are just trying to do our best, and I know that, again, between Bobby and me, we're gonna be ready to go. And like this kind of spilled over into something probably didn't intend, but after a bio, because I'm gonna be asking Bobby about his stuff tomorrow. We'll get videos up there. We'll get the site going, and when things are ready to be bet on. I mean, we could have done it. I could have said, hey, we'll try to lecture you on LOL or whatever else are out there. I'm just kind of inclined to just kind of focus my effort on either general DFS, general gambling stuff, and be ready for the real sports when they come back.
Yeah, I was a little nervous even yesterday. Like, actually, it was a great example. Like, I played poker, and I maybe I was a little rusty. I actually thought I played really well. I built a big stack in a lot of tournaments, just kept ending up nearly bubbling. And I realized, God, it would feel really dumb if I lost like a large amount of money over this period of time playing poker. And that's the first time I've ever had that thought in my life. Like I always, that used to be my thing. And now it's just been, I'm so far removed from it that while I'm going to definitely play some, I think it's probably best that I bankroll manage and save at least a pretty good amount for when DFS comes back, so we can get it back with a vengeance. And by the way, you're going to.
This is one last thing. This is This is like a little frustrating, but like, so we put in a deposit on a car like a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, okay. So here we go.
And we were, we could pick it up at any time and whatever it is. And we didn't want to pick it up before the end of the month anyway. And then, the guy reached out, hey, can you come pick up the car? And I'm like, we're really not ready to pick it up. And then, like, since this happened, he's like, he come pick up the car. And then he sent me this kind of shitty email. He said something like, hey, hope you're healthy. I'm afraid if we do not set a pickup date for your new car, the dealership may force to be closed down before the end of the month. Please let me know if you can pick it up today, tomorrow afternoon, or on Friday. And, like you talk about being a poker player and knowing what's bluffing, whatever. Feel it's a little shady. You know what I mean? I don't know. So I just responded, you know what? I said, I'm not going anywhere. If you want to drop it off, fine.
No, it's pretty incredible. I have the same parallel with this one because I'm supposed to pick up my Tesla today, and I don't want to.
Yep.
I haven't left, and I don't want to. I'm not planning to now. So, I mean, look. I hope you guys out there who are skeptical about all this, I hope everybody gets to laugh at us and make fun of how we, may have responded too much or whatever. it just feels like I don't even think it's worth any sort of risk to me personally. So. Also, what am I going to do with the car? You know what I mean? I can't really go
My
anywhere.
wife's saying, you know.
But it is.
But with us, it's fine because we're going to be returning. We're leasing anyway, so we're going to be returning one and pick up the other one. So it's the same thing.
Yeah. It's just it is a weird time. All right, man. With that, I appreciate doing all this. I appreciate you saying all that.
No
Maybe
problem.
one of these days we'll do a show where we get to, you know, we're not mean guys, but I would like to get some of your takes on some of the guys who maybe in the industry I sort of had to.
Yeah, I'm in. I'm in.
All right. Well, maybe we'll get into a little of that on the next one too. Guys, thanks so much for tuning in with us. For Sheets, I'm Bobby Fi, stay safe, and let us know things you'd like to see. Let us know what you want to see. We've got time, so let us know.
All right. See you later.